Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We're almost at 15 subs, so let's get there. Before the video starts, make sure you are subscribed to Next Up and all the members of Next Up. I will leave the link to all of those channels in the description below. The members, in case you guys forgot, are Mon Sports 11, Quacky 3, Crazed Games, me, Splash and Crash, and then the last member is The Beast. The 2010s have officially ended. We are in 2020, and with that, a new era of basketball in the NBA is starting. So in today's video, I might make more videos on this, but today we are just going to be looking at what my predictions are for the best players throughout the 2020s. I also have, so basically I have a list of a bunch of young players and all-stars in today's NBA, and I'm just going to I'm going to rank them into 5 tiers based off what I think they are going to be in this decade. This is assuming everyone stays healthy. Also, there will be, I believe, 7 players who aren't in the NBA yet. 3 of them are in the upcoming draft, and the remaining 4 are in drafts up until 2023. I don't have anyone beyond that because we can't really say if they're going to be good or not. Excuse me. Yeah. So anyways, let's get so these are the list of all the players. I just wanted to say, for the players who aren't in the NBA, I only put the notable ones in, and that does not include Bronny James Jr., just because in his freshman season at Sierra Canyon, he basically got no minutes. He only averaged 6 points a game, and he was coming off the bench because Sierra Canyon is just so stacked. So let's go over the players that I think are going to be significant in the upcoming decade. So I have Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, who is from, I believe, Georgia. He's projected to be the number 1 pick in the 2020 draft. I have Bam, Bradley Beal, Cade Cunningham, who is going to be in the 2021 draft. D'Angelo Russell, Damian Lillard, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Joel Embiid, and Emoni Bates, who's projected to be the number 1 pick in the 2022 draft. De'Aaron Fox, Giannis, James Harden, Brandon Ingram, Ja Morant, Jalen Green, who is projected to be is going to be part of the 2021 draft. He is that guy who signed with a G League team instead of a college. Jamal Murray, James Wiseman, who used to be in Memphis, but he got suspended and then unenrolled. He's going to be in the 2020 draft. Jaren Jackson Jr., Jaylen Brown, John Collins, Nikola Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Kristaps Porzingis, Kyrie Irving, LaMelo Ball, who is playing in Australia in the I believe ZBL. Right now, he's projected to be in the 2020 draft as well. LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Mikey Williams, who is projected to be in the 2023 draft. He is the only freshman in high school on this list. RJ Barrett, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Pascal Siakam, Ben Simmons, Steph Curry, Jason Tatum, Trae Young, Russell Westbrook, and Zion Williams. Now, so before I show you the tier list, I just wanted to quickly explain why I have LeBron James on the list at all. I have him because he will be significant for the first few years. He will still be one of the best players in the league. And best case scenario, I think he plays until he's 41, 42, maybe even 43. So that's mid 2020s. And Kobe was actually pretty significant at the beginning of the decade. And LeBron James is probably going to be even more significant than Kobe Bryant was at the beginning of the 2010s. And LeBron's going to be much more significant in the 2020s at the beginning, in my opinion. So, Kobe Bryant made an all-decade team. And if LeBron plays well enough at the beginning of the 2020s, which I believe he will, I think he can make an all-decade team in the 2020s, just like Kobe Bryant. And I can't leave an all-decade player off this list. So, also the tier list is going to be split into 5 tiers. Tier 1 is going to be for, the generation, a lot of these players are generational players, but these are, consistent MVP winners. These are going to be the players who have the best cases for the number 1 player in the league. And I think the 5 players I have in tier 1, I think they are they are the 5 players most likely to be the best player in the league one point during the upcoming decade. Tier 2 is the players right under that. These guys might win an MVP here or there, a singular MVP, probably not, but they will consistently be top 10 in the MVP race. They might go a bit higher, and one of them might win a singular MVP. They're the second tier. They're still all NBA superstars. They are second tier superstars. Tier 3, this tier is still has superstars, but these guys are not going to win MVPs no matter what. They probably won't be in the race either. These guys are basically regular old superstars. Some of them might be borderline superstars, but they're the best borderline superstars. Yeah, and tier 4, these are the borderline superstars. They are not true superstars. And they are they're better than regular perennial all-stars, but they are close to being superstars, but not really superstars. They will probably never make all-NBA teams. Tier 4, that's tier 4. Tier 5, these guys, I just put them on the list because I think they will be somewhat notable. These guys have absolutely no shot at all-NBA teams, and these guys are just they will consistently make all-star teams, but they are not superstars, and they are not very close to being superstars either. So, yeah, that's going to be... by the way, I'm projecting this to the players. I don't think they are at this level yet. I think at the end of the 2020s, in the year 2030, when we look back at the decade, this is my projection for how we will look back at the decade. So anyways, I'll show you the list now. So this is what my tier list is looking like. This is my projections for how these players will end up at the end of the decade. So in tier 1, I have Luka, Zion, Giannis, Emoni Bates, and Mikey Williams. So Luka Doncic, it's pretty obvious. He is already an MVP candidate, and he's in his second season. He's 20 years old, and if he has a legitimate chance at becoming the youngest MVP ever and winning the MVP next season. Luka Doncic, the only flaws in his game are he's not an elite defender, but he's okay. If you just have a really good defender at point guard alongside him in the backcourt, I think you'll be fine. He is not super athletic, but he makes up for that with his incredible ISO skills, his rebounding, his passing. He's averaging a near 30-point triple-double in his second season. At the second player I have in tier 1, Zion, he's here because of his potential. There are some things he needs to work on. He needs to definitely get more healthy, which let's hope he doesn't get injured, but it's a very real possibility that his career ends due to injury. During the 19 games we saw, he averaged 22 points a game. The two flaws in his game, or that I think he needs to work on, are his defense. I think he He wasn't very good defensively in those 19 games, but at Duke he showed us that he can be an elite defender, so I think he will get there. His shooting, he showed flashes, so I think he can become at least an average three-point shooter. Now, the third flaw, to passing. So, I know if he were to pass, that would make him basically the perfect player. But at this point, when there are guys like Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, like these, they can do pretty much everything. If Zion wants to compete with those two, Zion needs to add passing to his game so he can do pretty much everything. We're getting to a point in the NBA where you have to be able to do pretty much everything, or you are not an elite player. Well, you can be an elite player, but you can't be the best player in the league. If there's even a single flaw in your game, the competition is just way too good for you to have that flaw, because they will just completely destroy you and make you they will destroy you using that flaw. So Giannis, he can do literally everything, and he's already won an MVP last season. He's gonna win one this season, and Giannis's only flaw is three-point shooting, which he got better at this season, and I think he will keep getting better at that. So I think he will definitely be a tier 1 player. Emoni Bates, he was a sophomore this season. He's projected to be in the 2022 draft. He averaged about 2 points a game. He can do literally everything. And the only flaw in his game is he's an average passer. Not a bad passer. He's an average passer. That's that's the worst part of his game. This man is absolutely crazy. He's like a Kevin Durant, but better. Yeah, like he's Kevin Durant, but like better at literally everything. Emoni Bates hits 87 NBA three-pointers in a row. 87. He hit 87 threes in a row. I believe this was in game. I'm pretty sure Steph Curry can't even do that. Emoni Bates is absolutely crazy and 100% deserves to be here. He will probably win at least 2 or 3 MVPs very early in his career. He has the talent, the skill, the athleticism. He has the ability to become the greatest player of all time. Just all of these players in Tier 1 have the potential to become the greatest player of all time. And the 5th player I have on this list is Mikey Williams. Mikey Williams is a scoring point guard. Now, a scoring point guard, you might ask why I have a scoring point guard. Like, his main thing is that he can score at point guard, which a lot of players can do, and a lot of players can do it better than him. But the thing is, he's a freshman, and he averaged 30 points a game, 6.5 assists and 5 rebounds. As a freshman, he had a 77-point game. As a freshman in high school, he was 15. And he dropped 77 points in a high school game against seniors, juniors, like people who are like 3 or 4 years older than him. He's already 6'4". He will probably grow higher than that, because I think he has the potential to because he has so much potential. Since he's already 6'4" at 15, he will grow bigger. I think he has the potential to be good at literally everything. Mikey Williams definitely has GOAT potential. Maybe not as much as the other players in Tier 1, but depending on how well he does in the next few years of high school, I think he can become, I think he can maybe reach 40 points a game, maybe even 50 points a game, with 7 rebounds and 7 assists. This man has the potential to be something incredible. He just needs to keep getting better in high school. In Tier 2, I have Jalen Green, Trae Young, Jason Tatum, Ja Morant, and Cade Cunningham. Jalen Green has been compared to Kobe Bryant. He averaged 30 points a game, like 5 assists, 5 rebounds in college. He's been absolutely incredible and 100% deserves to be here. There's no real flaws in his game. He can do pretty much everything. But I don't have him in tier 1 because I don't think he does everything incredibly, but I don't think he does it at like a top 10 player of all time level, which these guys in tier 1 have the potential to be. I also have Trae Young is here because he's averaged about 30 points a game in his second season. He's making logo threes. He has the potential to be like a Steph Curry kind of player, but I don't think he has GOAT potential, and I don't think he will be in the conversation for best player in the 2020s. So that's why I have him in tier 2. Jason Tatum, he averaged about 30 points a game in February, and he led his team to wins. The Celtics were like 12-2 when he was doing that. He went head-to-head with the Lakers, even when Kemba Walker was injured. Jason Tatum has been in conversation for future face of the NBA in many people's opinions, but he's being I don't think he's I'm saying this as a Celtics fan. I don't think he's on the level as tier 1 players, but I think he definitely is a tier 2 player, but I don't think he can compete with the tier 1 players. There's Ja Morant. He has been incredible his rookie season. He led the Grizzlies, who were supposed to be the second worst team in the NBA this season. He led that team to the playoffs, or at least they're in the 8th seed right now. A rookie. Ja Morant definitely deserves Rookie of the Year, but Zion is better, and he isn't, he can do pretty much everything well, but he can't compete with the people in tier 1, so I have to have him in tier 2. Cade Cunningham, he is in the 2021 draft, along with Jalen Green. I believe he's going to Oklahoma State. Cade Cunningham, his player comparison was Ben Simmons, and he's definitely a better three-point shooter than Ben Simmons, but he doesn't do it at an elite level. I don't think he can get to an elite level. I think he'll have like an average three-pointer, which is, that would be fine, but I don't think it's like, I don't think you can just have an average three-pointer and be good and be like the best player in the NBA in the era we're entering right now. And because of that, since all the players in tier 1 are players that are going to be they're all going to be in the argument for best player in the league. They're going to be as close to flawless as anyone can get in the 2020s. I don't think Cade Cunningham can be in tier 1, but if he can develop his three-point shot in this next year in college, I would have, or if he could do it in his first 3 years in the NBA, so by the time he enters his prime, he's a really good three-point shooter, then I have no problem moving Cade Cunningham to tier 1. Next, I have tier 2. These guys are going to be like the All-NBA third team, maybe All-NBA second team. Guys, these guys, they're going to be All-NBA, but they aren't going to be they aren't like the MVP level players. In the era we're entering right now, so these guys are they'll be All-NBA talent, but they aren't going to get it because there's going to be, right now, we're entering an era with so many superstars. There are 10 superstars ranked right above them. 10 superstars. 10 MVP level players will be in the league. Right now, we are sitting at about 5 or 6. It's going to and then some of these guys might also reach MVP level. This tier, as you can see, it's made of completely out of current players, and a lot of them are actually in their prime players, like players who are already in their prime and will be exiting it in the 2020s. So the players that are already in, so I'm just going to split tier 3. There's 3 different types of tier 3 players. So first is the players that are already in their prime, but I think they will still be able. I think they still can play some more. I think they are still I think they have the skill, and their game doesn't completely rely on athleticism. So I think they should be able to still play at like an extremely well, like at a tier 3 superstar level throughout the 2020s, even though their prime was in the 2010s. So this is made up of Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry, James Harden. Now the next tier is players that are actually, well, no, Kawhi's not in that. Kawhi's not in that group. So the next group of tier 3 players is the tier 3 players that are just entering their prime. This is Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, and Joel Embiid. Now, after that, now we have the young players who haven't entered their prime yet, but are going to in the next few years. I have this as Karl Anthony Towns, Nikola Jokic, and Ben Simmons. So I'm going to go over all the players in this tier. Anthony Davis is a player who is just entering his prime this season, which is the first season of the 2020s. Anthony Davis, he has the potential to be one of the greatest power forwards of all time. He has generational talent. I don't think he can be the best player in the league anymore, because back when he was drafted, when people thought he was going to be the best player in the league, we didn't know how much talent was going to come into the league. In the 2020, and Anthony Davis is actually supposed to be the best player in the league this season. That's what the prediction was back in 2015 or something, that by this season Anthony Davis would be the best player in the league. He is top 5, but I wouldn't consider him number 1. I just think in order for you to be the best player in the league, you have to do a lot in your first few seasons. Anthony Davis hasn't done anything leading up to his prime, and now that he's in his prime, he's lost about 7 seasons to prove that he's the best player in the league. But Anthony Davis is an incredible defender. He's super athletic. He can shoot threes. He's pretty fast for his size. He's super strong. He's super athletic. He's a really good defender. He's probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year. I just don't think... he's definitely going to be an MVP level player, but there's just going to be so many MVP level players that I don't think he will be able to even come close to winning one. Next up, we have Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard entered his prime at the new year. He wasn't in the second half of the season. That's when Damian Lillard entered his prime. He showed the world what he's made of. He averaged 50 points a game. There was a stretch where he was averaging 50 a game. Yeah, Damian Lillard has showed everyone in the league that he can be one of the best scorers. Damian Lillard might win a scoring title. I wouldn't be surprised. The players above him, they can score a lot, but a lot of them also have other players on their team or aren't going to be Damian Lillard still has enough time before the players above him to completely take over, so he might be able to get in a scoring title in the next 2 seasons to add to his resume. He is going to be he will definitely be a top 10 point guard. For the next before Cade Cunningham, and before the thing is, all the players above him, they are all really young, and Steph Curry is getting a bit old, so Damian Lillard might have a chance at being the best point guard in the league next season, depending on, because all the point guards in the tiers above him are really young or haven't been drafted yet, so Damian Lillard might be the best point guard in the league in the next 1 or 2 seasons, but he will end up progressing, and Anthony Davis will too, in the 2020s. The third player in Tier 3 is James Harden. James Harden is in his prime. He will probably exit it in the early to mid 2020s, around 2023 to 2026. I think that's when James Harden would leave his prime. But he will still be, I think he will become like a Lou Williams kind of player, but like better than Lou Williams off the bench for the end of his career. Or he might still be an all-star level player at the end of his career. I don't know, but James Harden doesn't completely rely on athleticism. It's a lot. His biggest skill is being crafty, shooting, just being a high volume scorer, which Lou Williams is off the bench. So James Harden, even though he's going to be exiting his prime, I think he will still be a really good scorer in the 2020s. Next up, we have our first young player in Tier 3, Karl-Anthony Towns. Towns can do it all. I just don't see him being like, he's young, but he's not young enough and doesn't have enough. I don't think he has enough potential left to compete with the players above him in the tiers above him. So Cat will probably be the best center in the NBA, just because there are no centers in the tiers above him, and all the other centers, Jokic and Joel. I don't think Jokic and Joel have like the Joel Embiid. I mean, Joel Embiid's gonna deal with injuries, and I don't think his ceiling is as high as Cat's. And Jokic isn't fit. I know he lost a lot of weight this season, but he is still he still has a very unhealthy body, and I think Cat can use that to his advantage. I don't see any big time centers coming in the next few drafts, so I think during the 2020s, the race for the best center in the NBA will still be between these guys. So Cat might actually make a few All-NBA first teams. But Cat is the best shooting center in the NBA. He's great at rebounding. He's got better at defense. He's really gifted offensively, and I really think he has the highest ceiling out of all the centers in the NBA. Next is Jokic. Jokic, like I said, is very unhealthy. He needs to work on that. But if Jokic can get fit, if a healthy Jokic with a fit body, I'd take him over Karl-Anthony Towns any day of the week. Jokic this season was the best center in the NBA. He's going to be All-NBA first team, and he will probably make at least one more All-NBA first team in the early 2020s. Jokic is great at shooting. He's good at defense. He's an incredible passer, not just for a center. He's an incredible passer overall. He is the greatest passing center of all time, and he's just an incredibly versatile player. The third center in Tier 3 is Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid was the best center in the NBA last season. I'd have him over Jokic last season. He's super athletic. His post game is incredible. He's like a okay 3-point shooter, and he's incredible defensively. The only concern with Joel Embiid is his attitude and his injury concerns. If Joel Embiid can stay healthy for the next decade, which I don't think he will, but if he can, then he could very well be the best out of the three centers. But that's a huge if. Joel Embiid's already missed so many games due to injury. He missed his first 2 entire seasons due to injury, and I expect him to miss more seasons. The next Tier 3 player is Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard might be the best player in the league next season. But after that, I think the young players will just take over, and Kawhi will be 38 at the end of the decade, so I expect him to start regressing in the middle of it. And because of that, I don't think he can be in Tier 1 or Tier 2, just because the players in those tiers will still be in their prime by the end of the decade and will dominate throughout it. While Kawhi will be one of the best players in the league at the beginning of it, but he will probably fall off by the end of it and maybe retire before the end of it. Kawhi is incredible at everything. We know what Kawhi brings to the table, but he's just entering his prime now, and I don't think he has many years left before he starts regressing. That's why I don't have Kawhi any higher in that tier above. Oh, also, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but I'm not ranking the players in this. Like, I'm not ranking any of the tier 1 players over each other. If you're in the tier, if you're like, everyone in the same tier, I'm not ranking them against each other. I'm just saying that's like where their talent level is going to be throughout the 2020s. So like just because I said Joel Embiid before Kawhi Leonard, that doesn't mean I have Joel Embiid over Kawhi Leonard. They're in the same tier, which means I think they're going to be in the same realm of like talent throughout the 2010s. So the next player in tier 3 is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, same boat as Kawhi Leonard. I don't think he's gonna regress as much as Kawhi Leonard, but he's already 31. He will probably retire in like 2027 or 2028. I don't think he will play in the 2030. Kevin Durant, he had a very scary injury, which not many players have like the only player to ever come back from the injury he had and not be like the only player to come back from an Achilles injury and not have their entire career completely altered is Dominique Wilkins, and he's the only player. It's never happened any other time. So Kevin Durant doesn't really use his athleticism like Dominique Wilkins, so he does have a slightly better case, but still, an Achilles injury is very, very scary and will probably alter his career, and he probably won't be as good as he was before the injury. Kevin Durant, like, he is probably as good as the players above him, but he won't be as good as for as long as them, because he will, like I said, he will exit his prime like the next 3 or 4 years. He probably only has like 3 or 4 years left of his prime. So like Mikey Williams will just be getting drafted when Kevin Durant exits his prime, which Kevin Durant doesn't have many like incredible years left. I think he'll still be a all-star level player until the year he retires, but he doesn't have many years left, so that's why I have him in tier 3. Next is Steph Curry. Now, Steph Curry completely relies on his skill, shooting, and craftiness, which I don't think will go away. But I don't think, since he's going to be exiting his prime, like, same argument I had for Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant, Steph Curry won't be in his prime by the end of the decade, while the tier 1 and tier 2 players will be. So I have to put Steph Curry in tier 3. Ben Simmons, I really, really, really want to put him in tier 2. He is probably going to be the best of the tier 3 players, because I think he will develop a jump shot. But he's not going to have an incredible jump shot, and I think it's a bit too late. I mean, he's still very extremely young, but he's going to be entering his prime in 3 seasons, in like 3 or 4 seasons, and I don't think that's enough time to get you a jump shot good enough to be like an MVP level player. Well, like a top 10 player in the NBA, especially when there's this many superstars in the league. So I think Ben Simmons is probably going to be like the 11th best player in the league, like right behind the tier 1 and tier 2 players. But I think they are just a bit above him, and I don't think I can put them in the same tier as them. The last player in tier 3 is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, so I was debating whether I should put him in tier 4 or tier 3. But since Kyrie Irving, we really only got to see 1 season of what Kyrie Irving can be, like, as a true star on his own team, and that was his first season in Boston. His second season in Boston, there was a lot of outside factors which stopped him from being like a true star. I want to see what Kyrie Irving can do in his prime on a bad team, like that, because that Kyrie Irving, I think, is a tier 3 player, and I think Kyrie Irving is going to be the number 1 option in Brooklyn. Not immediately, but in a few seasons, I think if he stays with Brooklyn, he will definitely be the number 1 option. So, that's why, but Kyrie Irving is incredibly talented, and I think he still has a chance to reach, like, go reach another tier of greatness. So that's why I have Kyrie Irving in tier 3. Now we're on to tier 4. Tier 4 includes Donovan Mitchell, DeAndre Ayton, Bam Adebayo, Devin Booker, De'Aaron Fox, Brandon Ingram, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jaylen Brown, LeBron James, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Kristaps Porzingis. So the tier above them, those guys are like the All-NBA second-team superstars. These guys are like the All-NBA third-team superstars. That's at least what they will be talent-wise. But I don't think they will be able to make many All-NBA teams just because the amount of talent in the league as a whole is, it's going up crazily. Players aren't turning it to bust as much as they used to, and we haven't seen many weak draft classes. 2020 will be pretty weak, but after that, we have some crazy drafts coming right after that. So, yes. So tier 4, these players in a regular era would probably be like All NBA third team, borderline superstars. They're definitely like perennial all-stars. So they're like the best perennial all-stars, and they're borderline superstars. So this tier is made up of I already said who it's made up of. Anyways, so the first person in tier 4 is Donovan Mitchell. And Donovan Mitchell, he does have potential to be in tier 3. I don't think he will get there because I just don't think he has enough pure talent to get there, and it doesn't seem like... I'm not comparing his play style with the way he plays to Blake Griffin, but I think I'm comparing his progression path. Blake Griffin came right out of the gate, started playing as an all-star level player. Blake Griffin actually made the all-star team in his rookie season. Donovan Mitchell didn't. But basically, so Blake Griffin was right out of the gate, a 20-point per game scorer, an incredible player in his rookie season. Same thing with Donovan Mitchell. But Blake Griffin, the best version of Blake Griffin isn't much better than the best version of Blake Griffin wasn't really playing that much better than the rookie version of Blake Griffin. And unfortunately, I think Donovan Mitchell will I think he will progress, but I don't think his ceiling is that far away from what he's already at. So I have to put him in tier 4 because in these past 3 years, he hasn't he's barely improved at all. He's playing at pretty much the exact same level he was at his rookie season. So I don't know if I can put him in tier 3 without seeing him improve. Because if he never has a season where he takes a huge leap, because it doesn't seem like he's getting much better at all. So I don't know if I can put him in the next tier. So after him, I have DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton was the first pick in the 2018 draft. That draft I think is going to go down as one of the most stacked drafts of all time. It's just so deep. There are so many players that are role players. There's so many players that are going to be stars. And there are going to be a bunch of players that are just decent starters. That draft class, this season, this is all of those players from that draft are in their second season, and they've shown everybody how incredible they are. So that DeAndre Ayton was the number 1 pick in that draft, but really he's been he hasn't really taken the all-star jump like Luka and Trey. Obviously, we can't compare him. Last year, he was somewhat in the same realm as them, but I don't think he can go anywhere near them. So, also, So he definitely has superstar potential, but I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be like the Ben Simmons level potential. So that's why I have him in tier 4 instead of tier 3. DeAndre Ayton, he's going to be really, really good. Just the health concerns and he got suspended this year. He just has to figure it out. But he is an incredibly talented player, and he might. But I don't think it's too crazy if you guys want to have him in tier 3. The next player in tier 4 is Bam Adebayo. So Bam, the reason, Bam, I can't put him on the same level as Ben Simmons. That's the only reason he isn't on the same level as Ben Simmons. I keep comparing them to Ben Simmons because all the other players in tier 3 are not very young players. But, Bam, I don't think his ceiling is as high as, the other centers in tier 3 either, like Kat, Jokic, and Embiid. I don't think Bam's ceiling is as high as those players, so I had to put him a tier lower. Devin Booker, I can't put him on the same tier as Kat. Kat is already a superstar. Devin Booker just seems like he's going to be a pure scorer and nothing else. He's going to score at an incredible elite level, but I don't think it's going to be at the level of an all-NBA first-team player. So that's why I have Devin Booker in tier 4. De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, he just doesn't have enough talent. He's going to be really good. He's super fast. He's super athletic. He's very good. He's an incredible playmaker. He's a great scorer. He can do a lot. I just don't think he's good enough. I just don't think he's elite at any one thing, and he just doesn't have the pure talent to be with the tier 3 people. Brandon Ingram is an incredibly good player. He is lanky. He's a great shooter too, and so I couldn't put him in tier 5, obviously. But I didn't want to have him on the same tier as Ben Simmons, who's also from his draft in, because Brandon Ingram just took way too long to break out, in my opinion. And I think having Zion on his team is going to stop him from reaching his absolute full potential. I know because he's going to be the second option on the Pelicans now and not the first option like he was this year. So I think he's going to be great, but I don't think he's going to be I don't think he's going to be the number 1 option. Jaren Jackson Jr., he's just an incredibly talented player. He can do pretty much everything. He's a lockdown defender. He's an incredible shooter. At power forward, he can drive. He can do pretty much everything at the power forward position, and he's going to be a great number 2 option for Ja Morant. Then Jaylen Brown, the reason why I don't have him in tier 3 is the same thing I said for Brandon Ingram. Just if you put him next to Ben Simmons, do you think Jaylen Brown is going to be in the same tier as Ben Simmons? No. But Jaylen Brown is going to be an incredible 2-way player and is going to be a great second option for Jason Tatum once Kemba Walker gets old. We saw what he could do this year as a third option. He's been a 20-point-per-game scorer, great 2-way player. Imagine what he could do as a second option because on the Celtics there are really 4 near 20-point-per-game scorers. Once Gordon Hayward and Kemba Walker are gone, imagine what Jaylen Brown's going to do when there's only Jason Tatum in front of him. Now LeBron James, he's the only older player in tier 4. And the reason why I don't have him with AD, Damian Lillard, all of the other current superstars who will be exiting their prime is LeBron James is 5 years older than all of them, so I don't think he can accomplish enough in the next decade to be on the same tier as them. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, this year he showed that he can be incredible. He's going to be a great player, and Shai's an incredible scorer. He's a great passer too. He's he has nice size, so he can be a point guard or a shooting guard, and he's getting mentored by one of the arguably a top 5 point guard in NBA history in Chris Paul. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is getting mentored by him, and I think that's going to help him a lot. Kristaps Porzingis, before his injury, there's no doubt about it in my mind that he would be on the same tier as Karl-Anthony Towns. Those two guys, I think, were going to develop a rivalry, but because of that injury, and now that he's a second option to a tier 1 player, Kristaps Porzingis, he's slowed down a bit. He's speeding up again after the injury, but it's clear that that injury hurt his career a lot. And if his frame, he put on a lot of muscle this season, but being 7'3" and that athletic, I don't know how long he's going to be able to sustain that body. So he's also incredibly lanky, and it seems like he might be very injury prone. So I don't know if I can put him on the same tier as Cat anymore. Okay, now we're on to tier 5. These guys are not superstars. These guys are the guys that I was debating whether or not to put on this list. Well, some of them. Some of them I was planning on leaving them off the list. But these guys aren't superstars. They aren't going to be superstars. They're just nowhere near as good as the players above them. These guys going to be second options, maybe third options on championship contenders at best. But I don't think they can lead a team to a championship as the number 1 option. So the first player in tier 5 is Jamal Murray. And then there's Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, D'Angelo Russell, Bradley Beal, James Wiseman, John Collins, Russell Westbrook, Pascal Siakam, RJ Barrett, and Klay Thompson. So, Jamal Murray, he's a great player. He's a good scorer. He's just a good point guard alongside Jokic. But is he, good enough? Or is he going to be good enough to be put anywhere near the players above him? Absolutely not. Now, so if you look on the bottom row, the second player, the third player, and the sixth player, those guys are Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, and James Wiseman, respectively. I know James Wiseman comes a bit after them on the row, but James Wiseman is the sixth player, and I'm going to talk about him I'm just going to talk about him with Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball quickly, because these guys, I'm putting them all together because they are the top 3 players in the 2020 draft, which is it's looking like a very, very weak draft. Out of these guys, I think LaMelo Ball has the highest potential, but there's so much uncertainty surrounding these guys. Can they be consistent? Can they be efficient? And especially James Wiseman. James Wiseman's draft stock fell off a lot after his suspension and him dropping out of college. His draft stock dropped way low, and some people even have some of the Denny Avita, who's definitely not going to be a star, going over some of these guys in the draft. But I think these guys, they can become all-stars, but I don't think they can be perennial all-stars or superstars. I think they can just be regular all-stars that make the team. It's not going to be surprising if they miss the team or if they make the all-star teams. I think these guys are going to be those kind of players. And I just don't think they have enough potential to be in any of the other tiers, except for maybe LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball's absolute full potential will be in one of the tiers above, but I don't think he can reach that absolute full potential in a league that is so talented. So the next player is D'Angelo Russell. This season really showed that D'Angelo Russell can only be a pure scorer, and his defense is even worse than Devin Booker, and he's even worse than Devin. So he's basically Devin Booker but way worse. So that's why I have him a tier below Devin Booker. Bradley Beal, just a 30-point per game scorer. I don't know if the Wizards will be able to do anything else, and it seems like Bradley Beal is not going to be a number one option on a championship team or even a number two option. If he wins a championship, I think it will be if he gets traded to the Nets, which is a huge trade rumor right now. I think that's the only way he's going to really win a championship, because I just don't see him being like in a top two role on a championship team, especially in the era we're entering right now. John Collins, he just doesn't have the talent or the ceiling to be in one of the tiers above. He is a 20-10 guy in his third season. He's from a 2017 draft, which is turning out to be, even though it seemed like there's going to be 3 busts in the top 4 picks at that draft, it's starting to turn itself around. The top 2 picks in the 2017 draft, Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball, they are not busts. I mean, they shouldn't have been taken in the top 2, but they are not busts. And the only bust, so they were able to erase that bust label that was being put on them. And John Collins is also from that draft. He was, I believe, the 14th. No, that was Bam. He was a lower pick, and he hasn't been good on the defensive end, but he's been doing everything offensively and rebounding for the Hawks. So I think he will be. I don't know if the Hawks can win with him as the second option, but I think if they just have enough role players, good role players, and talent around Trae Young and John Collins, I think he can be the second option on a championship team. Next we have Russell Westbrook. Russ, I know he's having an incredible season this season, but his game is relying on athleticism, and he's already losing. He's already out of his prime, and I think he'll start regressing by next season or the season after that. And yeah, I just don't see Russ being an all-NBA level player ever again in his career. The last one is Pascal Siakam. Pascal just broke out way too late, so I don't think he can be a superstar or anything. That's why I only have him in tier 1. RJ Barrett is only in tier 5. RJ Barrett's only in tier 5 because it seems like there's a very good chance that he will end up as a bust. So I don't know, but I still have hope in him. He did showing lots of flashes this season, so I have to have him in tier 5. I can't leave him off the list because of those flashes, but I can't put him in tier 4 with the players that have actually proven themselves. And lastly is Klay Thompson. Klay, I know he just had a major injury, and I think he will start to wither away and just be like Ray Allen did, kind of, and just be that kind of role that Ray Allen played for the Heat. I think he'll still play at an all-star level for 2 more seasons, and then he'll just start to turn into a role player, which I think those few all-star seasons at the beginning of the decade will probably be enough, because he doesn't rely on athleticism. So I think he will have enough all-star seasons at the beginning of the decade to at least get him on the list. But ending up as a role player by the end of the decade, which I'm very certain will happen. Yeah, I definitely can't have him any higher. So, yeah, that's my list for what I think by the end of the decade, what I think the top players of the decade will look like, and I think this is how they will rank by the end of the decade, and how well they play. This is based off how well I think they will play during the 2020s, their success, and just how great they will be in the 2020s. So yeah, that's it for the video. be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. I am coming out with the, I think, part 3 of my top 50 players in the NBA list. I'm coming out with that either today or tomorrow. But no matter what, it will be very soon. And comment down below who you think will be on that list. Also, comment down below any video ideas you have for me next. I did get 2K on the PC, but my PC has been very, very slow in the past few days. So I'm trying to think of a way to continue that Dynasty League series I was doing, and some other series. So yeah. Anyways, that's for the video. Bye.